The Last of Us sets January premiere date on HBO. The series stars Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey. Finally, HBO has set a release date for its upcoming video game adaptation series The Last of Us. After having a fantastic year with House of the Dragon and Euphoria, the streamer is looking out to start the new year on a high note. Fans will start the post-apocalyptical journey with Joel and Ellie early next year in January 2023, the network has announced. The series is based on Naughty Dog's critically acclaimed video game with a huge fanbase and is highly anticipated. From the looks of the trailer, the feature co-written by Chernobyl's Craig Mazin and original games director Neil Druckmann looks highly faithful to the source material, which is always good news. The feature casts Game of Thrones alum Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey as Joel and Ellie, and both of them look perfect in the first few looks of the survival drama. The series will see Joel, a hardened smuggler who is tasked to transport Ellie, a 14-year-old girl who is humanity's last hope, out of an oppressive quarantine zone and traveling across the U.S. The Last of Us TV show story, enhanced, but will it adapt both games? So far, only a synopsis has been officially revealed by HBO. The story takes place 20 years after modern civilization has been destroyed. Joel, a hardened survivor, is hired to smuggle Ellie, a 14-year-old girl, out of an oppressive quarantine zone. What starts as a small job soon becomes a brutal, heartbreaking journey, as they both must traverse across the U.S. and depend on each other for survival. As revealed by The Hollywood Reporter in early March 2020, the series will cover the events of the original game, with the possibility of additional content based on the forthcoming game sequel, The Last of Us 2. A separate report from the publication indicates that future seasons are a possibility, meaning this is unlikely to be a Chernobyl-style miniseries, but instead one that will stretch out over several years. The mention of sequel story beats making their way into the HBO series should also whet the appetite of many who enjoyed The Last of Us 2. Co-creator Craig Mazin has also hinted that The Last of Us HBO series may be a more definitive version of the game's story, telling the BBC, "In this case, I'm doing it with Neil Druckmann, and so the changes that we're making are designed to fill things out and expand, not to undo, but rather to enhance." In the same interview, he added that the TV series will include a moment not in the games that will make our jaws drop. Bella Ramsey, who plays Ellie, has also indicated that the show's story will be different to the games. It explores different avenues that weren't explored so much in the game, the actor said. "It was so much fun to make, such an experience. I hope that audiences feel that experience too when they come on the adventure with us." The Last of Us creative director Neil Druckmann has briefly touched upon the challenges of bringing the game's story across to HBO in an interview with EW. "You have to figure out, with the TV show, how it communicates ideas or tells stories. In removing the interactivity of the story, how do you make it unique for this other medium? It's an interesting challenge, and I think there's a lot to learn from it." Craig Mazin had ideas about how to adapt the show. "It became intriguing to work with another creative who I admire. It just became a no-brainer, and to do it under the umbrella of HBO and all their content." Troy Baker, who plays Joel in both The Last of Us and its sequel, has full faith in the story adaptation versus the original plans to turn it into a movie. "The thing that encourages me most about the HBO show is that while there were a lot of people in Hollywood that stood up and took notice of The Last of Us and its success, and were thinking, oh, a lot of people like this, we should turn it into a movie," Craig Mazin came at it from a fan's perspective, Baker told Fandom in a recent interview. "He just wants everybody to know this experience." While the plot of the series sounds familiar to the fans, Druckmann previously revealed that the show will be similar, but different from the games. Along with Pascal and Ramsey, the series also features Gabriel Luna as Tommy, Anna Torv as Tess, Nico Parker as Sarah, Murray Bartlett as Frank, Nick Offerman as Bill, Melanie Linsky as Kathleen, Storm Reed as Riley, Merle Dandridge as Marlene, and Jeffrey Pierce as Perry. along with Lamar Johnson as Henry, Keaton Woodard as Sam, Graham Greene as Marlon, Elaine Miles as Florence. Furthermore, the game's voice cast, Ashley Johnson and Troy Baker, who masterfully played Ellie and Joel, will also be featured in the upcoming series. Both Mazin and Druckmann serve as executive producers alongside Carolyn Strauss, Evan Wells, Asad Kizilbash, Carter Swan, and Rose Lamb. The series is a co-production with Sony Pictures Television. The 9-episode first season of The Last of Us debuts on January 15 at 9:00 p.m. Eastern Time/Pacific Time on HBO and will be available to stream on HBO Max.